Chief, I want to thank you for coming out to North Dakota and spending some time with our ranchers in the grasslands. We appreciate it very much, and you were very responsive after your testimony in front of the Energy and Natural Resources Committee, so thank you very much. And I think that your visit out there was well received. I guess I want to follow up on a couple of the issues that we discussed and that I know you had opportunity to discuss with the grazing associations and our ranchers in the grasslands, and make sure that you're planning both in terms of your management plan, but also in terms of your budget to follow up on some of the things that are of particular importance to our ranchers and grazers. The first relates to use of the ag mediation service, and I'd like your comment both in terms of using the ag mediation service up front when those contracts are signed with a grazer. Well, I actually should take a step back. In negotiations with the grazing associations, but then also contracts with the grazers, and then ongoing dispute resolution. So if you would comment on all three of those.
So, Senator, what we had discussed when I was out in North Dakota is to be able to use the certified mediators to help in two steps in the process. The first one is before we even start any of the proposed projects or proposed NEPA to address the grazing agreements, to be able to use that those certified mediators to help bring people together in a way that we have a better understanding of the issues that whether it's what the Forest Service has or what the grazers have, so that as we move forward with that, there's a better understanding of just what we need to address. And then the second part is during our pre-decisional process, before a decision is made, to actually use our certified mediators to really bring the parties together and talk through that, prior to when that decision's made. So we felt those were the two areas where we felt we could probably have the most benefit to use that additional skills that are available to really head off some of these issues before a decision's actually made.
Delineate in your mind where you have agreement with the grazers, the grazing associations, and where you don't.
It's different probably with each of the associations about where we have agreement. There is definitely some disagreement over the which parts of the grasslands have the biological potential for the high structure to be able to produce grass high enough to address the wildlife habitat concerns. And so we have come to agreement with the university to go forward with the study to be able to help determine that. I think once that is completed, that'll go a long way to resolve, which I believe is probably maybe the number one issue that we have with the grazing associations. I think some of the other things are there are things that can, by bringing people together and having them sit down, and especially with a certified mediator, that I think that we can resolve a lot of the other issues that have continued to, at times, I think, slow down the focus on not only maintaining the grasslands, but to be able to continue to do it in a way that not only do we sustain the grazing, but we also can increase the wildlife habitat opportunities.
Are you willing to wait to get the study result? And I appreciate you using the range scientists at North Dakota State University. I think that's helpful, both because they're very good, but also because the grazers in our part of the world have confidence in them and tend to know them, and so they have a higher comfort level with them. But both as to the structure, the grass structure and so forth, as it relates to wildlife, like the sage grouse, and as it relates to current management practices and any change you would make in your management practices, are you willing to look at those studies first, get some agreement with the ranchers, hopefully a meeting of the minds, use some of those mediators if you need to get that meeting of the minds before you go forward with the new management plan?
Well, Senator, without having the specific knowledge of the status of each one of those, agreements and also which allotments we've completed, either have the information to be able to determine where we have the biological capability or not. I think I would suggest that we look at each situation on its own merits and make that determination of where we have the adequate data to be able to move forward, and where we don't, then we need to wait, collect additional information. You know, most, if not all, the ranchers have always, they're good managers. We share the same results. They want to be able to sustain that forage so they can go out year after year, and that we all know that there's no 2 years that are the same, as you well know in your state. And so that's the other thing we have to factor into it, is just every year we have a different amount of precip, a different amount of growth that occurs. And so we need to collect information over a period of time, and then we can make adjustments. And that the other thing that these adjustments don't have to be permanent. They can be very flexible depending on each year, because there's no 2 years that are going to be the same. So I think that's the other key part of it, is to be able to reach agreement about this is what we want the grasslands to look like when we're done each year, and then be able to agree on that, and then to work together to have the right stocking level out there, and that's where the ranchers are in the best position to make that determination.
Mr. Chairman, with your indulgence, if I could continue
Right.
for just a minute. Well, two things. First off, you're absolutely right. For example, this year there's going to be a lot of high structure because it's been, even when you were out there, and there's been a lot of rain since then. So you're absolutely right about no 2 years are the same. But both in terms of, with some of the individual grazers who are anxious to get their contract or their leases signed, using those mediators could really be helpful. And I'd strongly urge you to do that wherever you can. Second, in a lot of other cases, both with individual grazers and the associations, really working on together with them on the studies to get the results,
Yes.
get a confidence level, and then go forward with your agreements. I'd strongly urge you to do that. Now, and I think that you've shown a willingness to work with them that I greatly appreciate. And the only other thing that I'd throw out, because my time is up, is at least one of the grazing associations, if not more, has a freedom of information request into you, and it's been pending for quite some time. And I'd really encourage you to respond to them on it. And if there's some issue or impediment, maybe you can let my office know, and we can try to follow up and help you with it.
Okay, thank you. I'll do that. We'll look into that tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Chairman.